What's up, y'all? My name is Ian Edwards, and welcome to the Soccer Comic Rant. And you are watching or listening to two losers, basically. Uh, and it's going to be 2 weeks of losing because it's the international break, and our teams will not get a chance to redeem themselves or us. So we'll see how we handle these 2 weeks. But if you're hearing this, this means that you know that Man United got beat by Arsenal. Southampton got shelled 5-0 in the championship, a Premier League team with parachute money and sold more players and made more money than their parachute money from selling players. And somehow they lost 5-0. So Lee is going to explain that to us. Uh, Liverpool, I told y'all, worry about Liverpool. Their midfield look like it's coming back and is the league on notice. And every week after week, they're proving that, hey man, we're here. So we're going to talk about the progress of that. We're going to talk about our mate, Ange, who coaches Spurs and the job he's doing over there. And as Lee was reminding me before we turned on the podcast, Son got a hat trick, and Ferguson for Brighton Hove got a hat trick, and damn, who's the other person that got a hat trick? It wasn't a United player, so it's not readily on my
Holland.
mind. Who? Holland got a hat trick. Yeah, yeah. Damn, I wonder what that feels like to have a player on the team get a hat trick. Yeah, it's been a minute, so I don't know that. So we're going to talk about those games. We're going to talk about Chelsea's failures, and I think their $100 million player or one of their $100 million players made an error that cost them the 3 points again. So we're going to have some fun laughing at that. And it's game week 4. And congratulations out there if you won. And we got a co-host, Lee Hudson, stand-up comic from England. He's out there killing it. And Southampton fan. So he's killing it. So Southampton ain't. What's the deal, fam?
I'm good. I'm in all black today after the weekend's result. It was bad. It was we'd been making the most of our start to the championship, and it was a brutal reality check this weekend. So yeah, I got 2 weeks to just sit in that now as well.
You're not supposed to. The championship is not supposed to give you a brutal reality check. You're supposed to come down there, slap them around, and give them a reality check. So, yeah, to get a 5-0 shelling down there. Who was it by? At the hands of?
Sunderland. We were away at Sunderland. Yeah.
Mm.
I was just getting PTSD from last season. I thought these sort of games were done for us for a year. I thought we had an escape from this.
I guess
No,
I
we
guess
we
Sunderland
went
was
back to
trying to
last season.
prove back to last season. I guess Sunderland, when they see a team like that was wearing their stripes, it's like, all the Clareton Blue teams, they really try to prove we're the best Clareton Blue. And it's like, is Sunderland red and white and black too? Like their color scheme? They're like
Yeah,
red
yeah,
and
yeah,
white, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty much the same.
so they wanted to claim those colors over you guys. But what's the first depressing thing you think we should talk about now?
I mean, we should probably start at the game you and Martin went to last night. That was a historic
Oh yeah,
occasion.
yeah. Oh, the game that saved my life. Into Miami versus uh LAFC. Like if I didn't have this game, like a press pass to this game, and I didn't know I was going to see this game, like I might have not have survived the United loss. Like knowing that I was going to go to that game is why my wrists aren't bleeding right now after the United lost to Arsenal. So yeah, so
Oh,
that was a great thing to like, you know, to scratch watching Messi live off my bucket list. And Seth over LFC hooked it up, and it's the earliest I've ever left to go to a game. I was like, I'm not fucking around. Let me get to this game. I don't want to get to no traffic or nothing. So I
I
was
saw you posting stories like an hour and a half before kickoff. I was like, shit,
from the ground,
Ian's
right?
prompt. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you were flexing that. You were flexing that pass.
yeah. And it
It's
took
like, it's like a comic rant
half an
getting
hour.
press passes now.
You know, hey man, that's what we do, baby. You know what I'm
With
saying? That's
journalists,
what,
with journalists
with
out here.
journalists. It's official, baby. Yeah. So and then we had to like even Martin was shocked because Martin usually does the press thing. So we
Hmm.
had to wait in this line for the press pass. So that was like half an hour. But I also ran into this guy and he's a he also has a podcast and I've done his soccer podcast before. And they used to run this futsal spot in LA and it was a dope futsal spot and I went over there. It was called I met Roy from Urban Pitch and it was good running into Roy and he had cameras so he was gonna go down on the pitch and shoot some stuff and yeah man we got there in time to also get some food. You know, they feed the journalists and stuff like that. And then the journalist booth is like right above the pitch. And so you can see you have an aerial view of the pitch. So imagine having an aerial view of Messi carving up his opposition. And even
I
though
saw that
we can
you
see,
had like the city skyline in the background over the top of the stadium as
yeah,
well.
yeah, and then the skyline has like the mountain skyline behind the city skyline. So it was a layered textured view. It was kind of dope. I was like, oh shit, this is kind of fly, man. Like whoever said put this stadium here and then got the ground there and then the way they
Hmm.
set it up, yeah, it was a romantic ass soccer looking night, to be honest. Like even if you didn't like soccer, you'd enjoy that view, you know? There was something there for you, you know? And
I
then
saw the list of the list celebrity list was crazy as well.
mhm,
The roll call. Shall I go through them? Shall I go through the names?
yeah, go through the celebrity list, yeah.
Let's go through the ones I recognize on there anyway. So there was obviously Be Real from Cypress Hill, but he's there every game. I remember he was there
Mhm.
when we went to the opening game against Portland.
Mhm.
Um, Mookie Betts from the LA Dodgers. Uh, Gerard Butler was there, and he was at one of my friend's shows in the Edinburgh Fringe Festival a couple of weeks ago.
Oh,
He's
get out
getting
of here.
around. So he's gone from Edinburgh to LA. He's out there. Leo DiCaprio, James
Mhm.
Harden from the 76ers, Tom Holland, Spider-Man, he was
Spider-Man.
there. Yeah, Will Ferrell, Liam Gallagher from Oasis was there. Selena Gomez, LeBron James, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, Magic Johnson.
I saw Prince
Uh,
Harry. I didn't see Meghan Markle. I
yeah,
saw not personally like on the screen. I saw Selena Gomez on the screen.
yeah. Who else? Mario Lopez, Toby Maguire, Nas, Ed Norton, Rage Against the Machine. Um, who else we got? Jason Sudeikis, Ted Lasso in the house, Owen
Oh, Ted Lasso
Wilson,
was in the building. Yeah, I
Tiger.
saw Owen Wilson.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's yeah they you know they LA I think invented like celebrities coming to the game like the Lakers.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
not only was the Showtime Lakers like whooping ass, they would just have the court side lined with celebrities, and it's like an extra
mm,
publicity for you. Like I feel like if you're a PR person back in the day, like the least you needed to do for your client who was a celebrity was get them courtside at the least, you know,
yeah,
because like that would put you in mind for like work and people see you there and it'll boost your
yeah.
status instantly. And to this day, that's like one of the things. So LAFC is like doing that with soccer.
Is that the same with like the Knicks in New York as well, being
Mm-hmm.
courtside at the Garden?
Yeah, part of the reason why Spike Lee is still famous, besides making movies, is that he is the Jack Nicholson of the Knicks. You know what I mean? Like he's always courtside. He'll even get into it with the other teams. He even cost us a few games by pissing some rival players off, and they just went off on us. Yeah. So yeah. It was star studded. And then after the game, which was a beautiful game. Like Man, I had a chance to ask Tata Martinez because we went to the press conference. First, I
Mm.
couldn't get in because my badge only had like the press box on it. But then Seth came and got me in there. And I was sitting with Martin. It was cool watching the game with Martin too. And I wanted to ask him, and I regret not asking him. I was like when he first got to Inter Miami, because Inter Miami hasn't lost since Messi and the crew joined, and since
Mm.
he joined. And I'm like, what is the biggest thing he had to fix on that team to set them on the run that they're on now? Because they're 10 points or maybe 8 points after yesterday out of a playoff spot. And there's 10 games left. And this could be a fairy tale. They could catch up to the two last teams, knock one of them out of the playoffs, get into the playoffs. And then this team that started the season horribly, now with Messi, could kill other teams in the playoffs. Like they beat LAFC yesterday, who's one of the best teams in the league. I think they beat Minnesota or Minneapolis a few weeks ago. That was currently the best team in the league at that point. So they can beat people. And yesterday they beat us, even though you said something and we noticed it during the game that LAFC definitely had a chance to put three in the back of the net.
Yeah.
When that game started in the first half. But
First half alone was LAFC were creating, weren't they?
Yeah, I feel like the guy, I forgot, I can't say his name right now. The nine was like every time he approached the goal, he's like, Messi's watching me. I don't want to mess this up. And then he would mess it up. Because normally he would put those chances away. But
Mm.
yeah, but it was dope.
I saw there was one chance that Chiellini created with a great like through ball. He just
Mm-hmm.
strolled out from the back and then just slid a ball right down the side of the opposition centre backs for a forward to run onto, and then he screwed the pooch on the 1v1.
Yeah, yeah, man.
How was it watching the other sort of high profile players like Jordi Alba and Busquets? Because I mean, I've seen Busquets live a few times, and if you just watch him, like you see him like organizing teammates and setting up the team tactically, like with and without the ball, just telling people like, oh, you need to move here. He's like a manager on the pitch almost.
Yeah. And then you got three people who played most of their lives with each other. So
Mm.
you put three people who are probably the best in one, at least in the top 10 best in their positions ever. Like Jordi Alba has got to be one of the best left backs ever. Like he's
Mm.
trophy, he got silverware, he got more jewelry than a rapper. He's won it all. And he won it with Messi. And it's telegraphic at this point. And I almost felt like, is this guy a winger? Because he just knows exactly when to show up offensively to receive something from Messi. And he got one goal yesterday off a Messi assist. And so it was an effortless game, man. And it made me feel like even the way LAFC played, it's like, damn, the quality in the MLS is definitely getting better. These are two of the most informed teams in the MLS right now, but they both look quality. And Messi, it's like, how do you stop him? Like every play on the pitch for the MLS enjoy soccer. So one of the players they probably watched all their lives is Messi. So you've watched him
Mm.
all your life. So you don't even. So then also now you have to game plan for somebody you watch. So you should know mostly he should be the most stoppable person in the world because everybody watches him play because every soccer player professional is a fan of soccer, but he's so good even though he's been watched the most, his clips, his highlights, any package online, and you can see all his moves and enjoy them. Like you have to think, how can you stop him? And then you coach helps you, and then your team plans against it, and then you go out there, you can't do it. That's how fucking amazing this dude is.
Yeah, you know what he's gonna do, but even then, you can't stop it from happening.
You can't.
And I think even like because like he loves Like, because I've been lucky enough to see him live for Argentina,
Hmm.
PSG, and Barca. So between us, we got the whole career covered off.
Yeah, yeah.
But one thing that always struck me was how quickly he accelerates over like a 10-yard short distance. Like he'll get the ball turn and just that burst, like
Hmm.
he'll just drop a shoulder and be gone. Like the defender will be like, where'd he go?
Hmm.
And just little things like that. And yeah, just how he operates in tight spaces. Like he can play one or two touch passes that people don't even see. I think he played one during the week um, that was outrageous, like splitting defenders in the box.
Hmm.
Um, was just wild. And it must be, I mean, you're talking about, the sort of the players coming up against him being in awe of him. Like it must be so much fun to be a teammate of his right now, especially if you've
Yeah.
not had a very profile career. All of a sudden you're playing with the best ever. And the thing is about Messi as well, like he's not like one of the reasons why I always preferred him over Ronaldo. Ronaldo's like the star of the show. It's like he's taking all the shots, he's doing all of this, whereas Messi's like, no, you make that run, I'll find you. Like I'll put that ball on a plate for you to go and score and get the glory. Even though I'm going to be talking about the two Messi assists, but it's like he will be down the middle and he knows he could probably beat those defenders and shoot, but like no, he'll set it off for someone else who's in a clear position, like he did on the was it the third or the second goal? I think it was the third goal where he just drew the defenders in centrally and he slid it out wide, and the guy just
Hmm.
finished on his left foot. Um, so yeah, it must be a joy for those guys who they those guys must feel like they've won the lottery. They went from being coached by Phil Neville, bottom of the league, no wins, and then in the space of a few months, all of a sudden they're being managed by a competent manager. They're playing alongside three of the best players to ever play the game in their respective positions. Um, and having Messi make them look great by just laying chances on for them that they can't miss. And I love
You know
that.
what that
It
means,
was it
kid?
was
Never give up. No matter how dire your situation, it could change on a dime in a minute to the complete opposite end of the spectrum. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, you was talking about that pass that he made midweek. Like, I feel like, and I think I said this before, the players he's playing with now, you would think, all right, they got Messi, but what about them? But they're actually stepping up to the level and reading
mm,
the game like he is. Like that pass that he made
yeah.
midweek, that like the guy who got the ball and crossed it back to, he didn't have to understand that pass. Like
Mm,
it would have been okay, and it would have looked like an actual bad pass if he didn't pick up on it at the precise moment he picked up on it. That Messi,
mm.
like, I'm gonna put that ball between these guys right there because that's not a normal passing angle. Like
No.
only after it's executed and received and passed back to Messi, Messi taps it in the net, do you like, you know what? That player didn't have to respond that way. And a lot of
Mm.
his teammates, and even yesterday during the game, like respond as if they went to La Masia too. It's like La Masia is just
Mm.
rubbing off on everybody who comes in contact with these dudes.
Yeah, he's pulling everyone's levels up.
Yeah.
Like under Phil Neville, I remember like DeAndre Yedlin looked like one of the worst players to ever play the game under
Yo.
Phil Neville. Like he was getting fucking starched every game, and now he's looking, like the player that got a move to the Premier League when he was young.
This is this is what DeAndre Yedlin needed all his life to play with Messi. Like I've never seen him play this good. Like he's always been that guy. He might have been one of the franchise guys for Miami, when they, like that name that everybody would kind of recognize from US soccer. And
Mm.
I watch him play. I'm like, I don't get this Yedlin thing. But with Messi, I 100% get it. He's definitely like, Yedlin, you better have an altar to Messi that you light candles under when you go home because he's definitely, you might start for the US. You fuck around.
Mm. And a voodoo doll for Phil Neville.
Man, Phil Neville is yeah, yeah, it's night and day, night and day. But yeah, man, overall, great experience. LAFC looked good. They had a chance to win the game in the first half. They didn't take those chances, and then Messi and them took over. And you know, Messi and them, they play good, not just attacking, but good as a team. I think the game ended. I forgot to score the game. I think it ended 3-0.
3-1.
So yeah, that's what I thought.
There was the
LFC did.
header from the corner late on.
Hmm. Yeah, that's when everybody checked out. It's like by that time, you know, the funny thing is, LFC, the fans try to create something in football sometimes. And I get it, you're a football fan. So when Messi's like taking a corner, everybody's booing him. But you love him. We're here to see him. I know you're an LAFC fan, but we came to see him. Like that ticket that you got in your hands, LAFC fan, you could have sold it and made some money, but you didn't, and then so sometimes there's people in football that make you root for them and your team. Like I don't think most LAFC fans felt like they lost yesterday, even though we did lose on the scoreboard. Like that was just a win for everybody.
Yeah, it's just I mean, like you say, just monumentous occasion to have the greatest player in the world come there, and I'm glad you guys got to see it because it looked like a great day, and yeah, just the sort of thing you want the chance to witness.
Yeah, man, and it was worth getting there 2 hours before the game. It might have been 2.5 hours before the game. Like I didn't realize how early I wanted to get there until I got there. And said we got a lot of time. You talk to people, you eat food, you walk around. The stadium is dope, and you just take it all in. And you just don't want to get caught in traffic on a day like that.
Yeah, there's worse places to kill time as well.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so that was a dope game. Now you want to get to the depressing shit?
Yeah,
shit before you
let's just have a pity party for the rest of the pod.
Yeah. Oh shit, Jesus. I guess I'll go first. This feels like an AA meeting, and you're gonna stand up and tell them like your rock bottom stories. So yeah, Man United loses to Arsenal, and listen, we don't win at the Emirates, right? We don't win at the Emirates anyway. So I didn't expect us to win, especially with the form we were in starting the season. And even though Arsenal hasn't been in the greatest form, they've only dropped 2 points. So they get the points, to back up like beating us this week. And so what pissed me off not expecting to win is when we score first. Because then you're like, shit, we could win this. And then they score right away before I even finish celebrating like our goal. Like Arsenal, you have no respect. Like, let me enjoy the lead for 5 minutes, bro. You have the whole game to score. It's early. But one of the most dangerous times or the most vulnerable times for a team is right after they scored. And Arsenal definitely, like, I think we couldn't even believe we scored. And that we were like, oh, the plan worked. So everybody's still celebrating, even though we're back in our positions. The ref blew the whistle for the game to restart. Everybody's like, yo, you see what we did? And then Arsenal just do their thing, come right back down, score on us. Great goal by Odegaard, like one of the hardest passes, directly into the corner of the net, just unsavable. Because Onana was on one side of the net, then you have to get to the other side of the net, and it's back to 1-1. But then you're like, all right, fine. Let's hold on to this 1-1. And then I'll take the point. And then Garnacho scores. And then you're like, and it's towards the end of the game, you're like, we could win this. We just need to check this offside because it looked offside to me at first. But then when I saw the first images, I'm like, he's on. He's fucking on. And we can take this home and get the whole 3 points. And then they gone. And then now you're like, all right, let's just hold on. And then listen, man, it's tough to beat Arsenal. at the Emirates. But when your substitutions are Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans, Arsenal talked last year, they blamed their collapse on the injury of Saliba. One guy, a defender, right? So they we could have won the league. It's Saliba. But if they can use that as a crutch and an excuse, I can just point to those two dudes. And no disrespect to them, but there's levels to this shit. And they not. As soon as Johnny Evans went out there, Gabriel, is it Gabriel Jesus? Which Jesus is it? Let him know you shouldn't be out here. He toasted him. He's like, you should not be out here, old man. Like, what the fuck? Bro, dude, are you coming out the box? I will. And Johnny Evans grabbed onto him so fast. It was like grabbing onto a friend who's going to enter LA nightclub without you. And you have to hold on to them to get into the club. And I was like, oh, this is going to be bad. And then Maguire was out there. Like when Johnny Evans got picked on that corner and he couldn't get out there, Maguire was pointing, like trying to get the call as opposed to like, listen, Rice hasn't taken that shot yet. Step out there, do something physical, get in the way. But he just points a lot. But like Maguire just points, bro. Like he'll pass and then tell the person he passed the ball to, he'll point to where they should point to. He won't say like show back to the person. He just points. He's afraid. He doesn't want to make mistakes. He's just not active. Like his finger plays more football during the game than he actually completely does. Like stop pointing and fucking play. You know what I mean? Just play, bro. Like you see the guy. You're supposed to close that down and let the ref blow the whistle and handle that shit. And so it's just that type of mentality. Like Arsenal has the mentality. Whether they win the league this year or not, we don't, not yet. But I could say that Ten Hag did set us up right. Like we looked way more impressive. We used Anan as an extra man to handle the ball in the back. So in the first half of the game, we had more possession than Arsenal in a game at the Emirates and in a season where we've been terrible with possession so far and giving the ball away a lot. Eriksen did good. He was great on the assist. So, the Casemiro, Eriksen, Bruno thing was working and Wan-Bissaka was helping out. It was one of the best games I've seen Anthony play, which is not saying much because he hasn't had a lot of great games. He was decent last week, and this was a little bit better. Good hold-up play. And, I ain't even mad at Anthony Martial. It's like, at least when you pass the ball forward, Martial being there didn't mean it was just going to disappear into a void because Rashford as a 9 doesn't, for some reason, challenge. It's like he don't want it. So at least Martial would drop deep sometimes and come for the ball so we could hold on to it. So our possession looked better. And you could see where, all right, if this wasn't at the Emirates and we had better subs and we had more confidence and we playing a different team, like I can see where a few games against other teams, we could build this into a confident mode of play and really do something. So when we get Amrabat back, not back, but just period, like that'll help. Like we won't have to, like Bruno was dead. He's tired and we had no subs for him. And none that Ten Hag felt confident about. I still think he should use the youth. And then Rasmus Holland, he came on. We got to see him for the first time. And he created problems immediately. Gabriel was having a good old time before with Martial. As soon as he put Rasmus on, Rasmus didn't even get the ball and was giving him trouble. He was like, "Yay, somebody help me with this dude. He's bigger than me, and he can hold me off." Pure trouble. Like he doesn't even have to get the ball. When the ball is coming towards him, he backs off the defender, and if he doesn't get it, then Bruno read it the second time and jumped onto that ball. So there was like a layoff play without him touching the ball or actually completely winning it. So it's great to see him come out there with that aggression and that strength. Like Casemiro was like grabbing him by the collar. Like the way, when the defenders sometimes make a great play and they high five each other, they would like Casemiro's like, yes, that's what we need. That bring more of that. So there's hope. There's hope. We are in trouble on so many levels with the Anthony case, with the tweet from Sancho, with the owners not selling, and just whatever is going on with that. And Mason Greenwood, like we are in such, we almost, I'm still shocked people are making more fun of Chelsea than us. It's kind of crazy, but those are my thoughts. What do you have?
I mean, you guys haven't spent a billion like Chelsea, so I think that's why they're going harder on Chelsea at times. But I mean, yeah, it was an interesting game. I don't think it was a 3-1 game at all. I agree with you there. Like when I was watching it, one of the things I liked about it is that like it took a little while to get going that game, but once it did, it felt like a big game. It felt like these are two strong teams having a go at each other until you brought Maguire and Evans on. But I mean, yeah, it was interesting, like you say, watching you guys go to the Emirates and dominate possession at times. The fact that Arsenal were like too afraid to go press Onana because they were worried that they would go in and press and that they would get played around and then their defensive lines would get overloaded further up the pitch. So that sort of cat and mouse game was interesting to watch. I definitely agreed seeing Højlund come on. Like you say, Rasmus Højlund, when he came in, he gave something else. I thought there was a questionable decision on the challenge that Gabriel sort of when he tried to rugby tackle him in the penalty area. That one could have been looked at maybe.
Yeah, I
But he
try
showed
not
that
to be
he's
that guy. I try not to be that
yeah
guy. Like you see me not fighting for the offsides. I'm not going to bring that up again. But then
yeah.
before the podcast, I saw that challenge again, and during the game, I was like, nah, that's not a penalty. But I saw that challenge
Mm.
again, and there was a direct arm wrapped
Oh
around
yes,
him,
right the way
and I was
across.
like,
Yeah,
those have been given. Those have been
yeah.
given.
Oh, for sure. And yeah, I mean, but I liked everything I saw from him when he came on, though. Like he looked a handful. He looked like he's got a little bit of everything. Like he's like the guy's 6'3" and he's strong, but he's also quite mobile as well. He's not a like an Andy Carroll style cart horse striker who can't move.
Uh-huh.
He can get around. He's also technical as well. Like you saw in the disallowed Garnacho goal, his little flick to set up the through ball.
Mhm.
Um, Showed that he's intelligent. He can play off one touch like that if he needs to. And this is him coming in with
Keep
no match
talking.
fitness.
Keep talking. You're curing. I'm getting chills. You're curing my depression. Like I'm like, wait a minute. We, you know what? This international break after this, we're gonna do some shit. Like I actually feel better.
But this guy coming in with no match fitness as well. He's been out injured for a few weeks. He hasn't played for Atalanta before he came.
Mm-hmm.
So that was him only getting going. So I think once he develops even more of an understanding with his teammates and builds his match fitness, I think he looks like he could be the sort of striker that you've needed for a little while. Because you've had people that can give you mobility. When Rashford's played there, he gives you mobility, but he doesn't give you certain other things. When you had Weghorst there, he gave you something, but he didn't give you mobility and certain other things. So like now you've got a guy who's bringing all those things together. And like you say, Rashford looks a lot more comfortable when he's coming in off that left-hand side. That goal was classic Rashford,
Mm-hmm.
coming inside on his right foot and unleashing a shot. So um, yeah, I think there's some promising signs there. It's so typical when you look on Twitter after a game like that and people are just losing their heads and going crazy. All the fan reaction stuff, obviously those guys give an over the top reaction because they want the views and whatnot. It's like, no, just calm down. Like it was like obviously you don't want to lose. It's a bad result, but it's not a
Mm-hmm.
disaster. The club isn't in ruin and you're not going to finish 10th now because of that game. Like there was enough there to suggest that okay, there's it's not the result you wanted, but you've got a bit of time to try and get people back fit again. I don't know how long Martinez is going to be out for.
Yeah,
Did they say?
yeah. I mean, that's the issue. Like, and then why did Lindelof come off? Like,
Hmm.
like he does play good. There's some things he could do better, but are we gonna have to be going with? There's some United have done some really questionable things. Like we just sold Mengi, who was a decent youngster and a defender. Like we just sold him this week for peanuts. To maybe Luton or something or Sheffield.
Yeah,
You know,
it's Luton. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm like, oh, he could have been on the better than Johnny Evans, more athletic than Johnny Evans, less experienced. But I feel like Ten Hag, besides Garnacho, has proved for a guy that dealt with a lot of youth at Ajax, he's like steering away from our youth.
Mm.
Like, but I hope he gets. I don't hope he gets forced into using it. He wants to use Mainu, who looks exceptional with every touch of the ball. So I think unless he sees that, he's not fucking with any of the kids. But
Yeah.
like you're saying, just going back to what you're saying, like, yeah, I actually feel euphoric right now after this conversation. Like, therapy does work. People do need to talk. Like, I feel better about United season. There's 34 games more left, and we're gonna get injured players back. Rasmus Holland is gonna be more acclimated to the league, and after what he did yesterday at the Emirates, like more of that, and our style of play is coming together more. Like a lot of people, because we lost, don't see the identity, but I saw it yesterday clearly, and what surprised me and gave me hope and hurt me the most was that I could see the identity,
Mm.
and we hadn't been really showing it before, and to see it and the possibilities of it, say, oh, we could win. This is coming together finally, and then to lose, that's what kind of hurt. So it was a
Yeah.
tease by United, but looking forward, I'll take it.
Mm. Because I mean, if that Garnacho goal had counted and you guys hold on for the 2-1 win, all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden people would be talking about Ten Hag masterclass. Um, and that's how fine the margins are
Mm-hmm.
at that level of football. So it's like, don't get too high when you win, don't get too low when you lose. Just it's early.
Yeah,
We're if you're if we're 2 months out from the end of the season and you're in 15th, then yeah, have a meltdown. But that's not the case. So yeah, people just need to chill.
yeah, yeah. Like, don't let your mind ruin your life. You can have a better time. Like, yeah, it sucked. It didn't help to lose, but yeah, at least. Uh, I just want to. Do we want to talk about these hat tricks? Like, you told me something about these hat tricks, like, and maybe these hat tricks will help us get through some of these results. So, what were you saying about the hat trick stat yesterday?
Yeah, so obviously three people scored hat tricks at the weekend. There was Evan Ferguson for Brighton, obviously Erling Haaland for City, and Heung-min Son for Spurs against Burnley. So that's the first time three players had scored a hat trick in a Premier League game week since September 23rd, 1995.
Yeah.
And the three players who scored hat tricks that weekend, three classic Premier League forwards, Robbie Fowler, Alan Shearer, and Tony Yeboah, the king of the crossbar. So just three classic Premier League centre forwards from that mid-90s era.
Mm,
Who, yeah, they all put up decent numbers, those guys. And obviously Yeboah scored some of the most spectacular goals.
mm.
The one against Liverpool in particular, the volley off the bottom of the crossbar. So yeah, it's interesting that it's taken that long, like almost 20 years, um, for that to happen again. And you consider the forwards who've played in the Premier League between now and then. There's been some great players, but the stars haven't aligned quite like that in 18 years. So
It's like that a blue moon we had in LA last week or whatever it was like one of those weird, rare occurrences.
Mm.
Just on the Suns hat trick, like what's going on at Tottenham? What's our mate Ange doing to make them this good this early? And I, listen, Spurs, I got to give you props. You're doing well, and you're near the top of the table. I think you're second or something like that. But I don't want to check right now and confirm any positivity towards you. Let me check and give them their props.
Yeah,
They're
they're
second.
second behind City.
They're second behind
They're
City.
joint second with like Liverpool, West Ham, Arsenal. Yeah, there's like four of them all on the same points.
But it's super impressive start. But don't forget, Spurs, there are 34 more games left for you to Spurs this up. You're only 4 games into the season, and there's more chance for you to revert back to who you really are than there is for you to maintain this level that you're at right now. So that's something that gives me confidence. But congrats. I would understand your excitement if United had 10 points. How many points they got? How many points? 10 points right now, 11 goals. I'd be excited too. So I don't even blame you. But yeah, congrats on that. But yeah, Ange made Postecoglou or whatever his I can't remember. Ange. Let me just call him Ange. That's easy. He's killing over there with no Harry Maguire. Uh, Madison is fitting right in, doing his job. And then there's that player that Martin mentioned yesterday, Manor, who Martin in the chat was like, I told you about Manor. I said, Martin, I don't remember you ever mentioning this dude's name. Do you remember him mentioning this guy's name?
He mentioned it, but he was joking because he's a free transfer they got
Yes.
from Fulham, and he got 2
Yes.
assists, but they were just yeah. I mean, Burnley were all
He
over
was
the
being
place.
sarcastic about it. He was like shitting on because he was like, I'm not looking forward to this season. And whenever they made a deal, he would like, besides the Madison thing, he'd like shit on it. Like he's just being sarcastic, but now he's trying to pretend like he was dead serious. I told you about this man. I told you. Nah, Martin, get out of here.
But no, yeah, I mean, credit to him. Yeah, I mean, and I think the thing with Postecoglou is he's done that everywhere
mhm.
he's been. He's got a really defined style of play, and he seems really good at getting that style of play across to his players quickly, and getting them to implement it, which just shows that his chops as a coach. He's obviously very good at doing what he does. Got a clear idea of doing what he wants to do as well, and he's doing it with coaches that are brand new to him as well. He hired a whole new coaching staff um, when he moved from Celtic, so
It's
he says he
crazy.
likes to do that to keep his sort of ideas fresh as well, though, and have people potentially challenge him. So
Mhm.
yeah, he seems to have a really good attitude towards it all. And like I say, clearly a very knowledgeable guy, very good at doing what he does on the training ground as well. So be interesting to see what happens when, because the more games they play with that style, the more analysis ammunition that the opposition have as well, because there's almost an element of surprise for the first few games, because it's like, oh, he's doing this thing. This isn't the Spurs we saw last season under Conte or this or that, because certain managers, the longer they're in the league, obviously, the more people can figure out what they're doing. So, if you play certain teams, if it depends how much they change their personnel as well, because like United style will be slightly different from last year when they had De Gea in goal. So now teams are going to have to figure out how to solve that problem of Onana stepping in between the two centre backs and creating almost a back three. And
Mhm.
it's the same with Spurs. People will have to look at what Ange is doing with Spurs and being like, okay, how do we combat this? And like I say, the more games that go on, the more teams will have all that video to look through and go, yeah, this is the game plan. This is how we stop it. So obviously in Scotland with Celtic, the teams don't
Mhm.
really, even if they can see what's happening, they don't really have the ability to stop it because
Right.
Celtic are so far ahead of the rest. Whereas in the Premier League, teams have got good players that can potentially stop it. So be interesting to see how it evolves over the season and how consistent they can keep it going. Because there's every chance he could do, or teams will become wise to it and they'll figure out a system how to stop it. It depends how flexible he is with his system and how good at problem solving the players are under his coaching.
Yeah. I mean, here's my question. Like you just answered one question with like the coaches, but where did he get these players from that he's using? Like did most of them belong to Spurs or did they go out and like is it Van de Ven and like the other defenders, which they definitely needed a complete defense? Like were these players that
Yeah.
were in the youth system or did they just identify them that quickly and get them and like put them into the team? Because they benched a lot of starters that a lot of coaches
Yeah.
before him that would have bigger reputations used, and they're it's perfect. It's working perfect in
Mhm.
the highest level so far, even though it's just 4 games in.
It's a mixture of players who were there and players
Mm-hmm.
who were out on loan as well. So and ones they've signed. So Van der Ven, the Dutch centre back, he's signed. They signed him from Wolfsburg, I think it was. The
Mm-hmm.
keeper Vicario, he came in from Empoli, I think it was in Italy. But then Udogi, the fullback, he was
Mm-hmm.
on loan last year. I think it was Udinese in Serie A. So he was out on. They signed him, then just loaned him straight out. So he's
Mm-hmm.
obviously back. Bissouma wasn't in favour
Right.
under Conte. So he was out there, and I think obviously Mana Solomon is a new player. Um, but for the most part, yeah, he's sort of working with what was there and with a couple of signings. So they've not done anything crazy. Obviously, Madison came in as well.
Right.
So they signed a few, and then obviously they spent money on deadline day to bring in Brennan Johnson from Forest for
Mm-hmm.
45 million. So there's a little bit of pressure on him now um, with that price tag. But I mean, he's been promising for Nottingham Forest. So it'd be interesting to see how he slots into that system because they've got a few players that can play in different positions up there now. They've obviously got Kulusevski, Son, Richarlison's still there as well. So they've added another option into that. Obviously, Richarlison not having the best of times, but
I hope he's not.
here we are.
Yeah, I feel like the what's his name, Brendan from Forest is like a shots fired at Richarlison. It's like a direct, like, hey man, you got a limited amount of time to get this shit together. We're gonna play this kid. But yeah, I feel like Ange, to his credit, has done some ballsy things just based on like the names you name. Like a lot of Premier League coaches, they just like playing people with experience, especially when you're new at the job and you go to a team. Like a lot of coaches will play the same players, even if the system is different. But he went in there, changed the system completely from the last 3 coaches, and is not playing the players that those coaches played. And he found some way to get this instant cohesion. And through risk and sharp analysis on personnel, and it's working out. So props to him so far, for sure. Uh, Another person that deserves some props this weekend, like to give Haaland props is like, I don't want to like just brush over Haaland. Hat trick, Man City, great. It's almost he's just played 1 season and already everybody's like, yeah, so what? Haaland scored a hat trick. It's Haaland. What else? But that shit is not easy to do. So props to that. But this Ferguson hat trick against Newcastle and Newcastle's horrendous start to their promising season, and they're not even playing like Champions League games yet. Like the draw hurt them that much, like that they can't beat teams, and it's almost like that draw affected them. Like they had a midweek game and they had to play on Saturday. But yeah, that Brighton had lost the week before, I guess, so they couldn't afford to lose. But so did Man City, so did Newcastle, and yeah, man, Brighton took him too on that kid Ferguson. What do you think of him?
Yeah, I mean he's a talent. We saw people were starting to talk about him last season because when he came in, he was showing some real promise. He's another guy who's a handful, similar to Hoyland. Like he's a
Yeah,
he's a big guy, but he's mobile and technical as well. So he's got a bit of everything. And yeah, obviously he caused them a ton of problems. He played youth football in the Irish league as well, and he had offers from, I think, like Liverpool were trying to get him at one point, but he chose Brighton because there was more of a pathway through to play there, and it's proven a good decision from him because he'll get that big move eventually if he carries on like this. So yeah, I mean, people have known about him, but I think, if there was anyone that was doubting or anyone that was sleeping on him, this was the
They're awake
weekend where he
now.
was like, yeah, this is the weekend where he's like, you're going to take notice now. If you don't know about me before, you do now. It's one of those because, yeah, I mean, Newcastle, I feel for them. They're just having a tough time of it right now. But welcome to pressure. They put a target on their backs after last season. So, and again, it's one of those things like people I think have looked at how Eddie Howe plays and being like, okay, we got a plan for that now. So what else? What else have you got? And with the added schedule of Champions League football coming up, I mean, they've not even had that put into their schedule yet. They've got that coming up after the break. They're going to have to contend with those extra fixtures and that extra pressure. So, yeah, we'll see what they've got. But Brighton, a weird team this season as well. Like they'll dismantle people one week and then they'll fall to pieces the next week. They've had a sort of weirdly inconsistent start to the season. Like West Ham completely pulled them apart on the counter attack last week. This week, they're the ones scoring the goals. The week before the West Ham loss, they took Wolves apart. So, yeah, a little bit of an inconsistent start, but they're showing that they're getting themselves together under De Zerbi, obviously coping with the losses of the players who they sold off, especially in that midfield, McAllister and Caicedo. But Billy Gilmore looks like he's starting to step up now. He because he was sort of in and out of the team last year, couldn't quite get past those guys in the midfield. And De Zerbi's trusting him now, and he's always been a player who I saw him play youth games for Chelsea in the under 23s at the time, which is now under 21s, and he was a teenager then. You could see his intelligence. Like the guy dictates games. Like he chooses where the ball goes. Things go through him. He's a very, very intelligent player, and it's nice to see him settling in at first team level now and being given that run of games. Because when he was at Chelsea, he would be like, "Oh, you get a cup game here, or you get a start here or there if someone's injured." But then they never really gave him a proper chance to cement himself in the team over a few games, and it seems like he's getting that now.
Oh, if we got a good youth player, let's get rid of him and then buy someone to replace him.
Exactly that.
Because he's a what? He's a 6, or is he an 8?
Yeah. He's like a deep playmaker. He's a 6. Yeah.
And how many 6s and how much money has Chelsea spent on 6s to be below the 6 that they sold to Brighton in the same league? It is bananas. Like, you had Billy Gilmore. Billy Gilmore is doing his thing. Like, we say Brighton had a rough start, but I'm looking at it. They played 4 games. They got 9 points. So they lost one last week or the week before, I think, to West Ham. West Ham read them. They countered them and they sat deep and then sprung their attack. And Mikel Antonio had just one of the best games of his career that day. It was really masterful, and he deserves like mad props for that game. But Brighton, who I would probably just say they're the Borussia Dortmund of this Premier League right now, the way that young players want to go to them to develop, like right in the Premier League, as opposed to going to Germany, to Dortmund to do it. And people can see them and they can get that big money move to the same league that they're already used to playing in, and at Borussia Dortmund / prices for the sales, or even bigger. So, Brighton, we're definitely going to have to worry about them. Like De Zerbi and those boys, they're doing their thing, man. They are dangerous as hell, and they improving people and replacing the people that they sold. We're still going to see if like there's an effect on. I feel like there'll still be some bumps in the road. Like maybe the West Ham game is where they missed the Caicedo and the McAllister and all that stuff. If those guys were there, they would have all 12 points. So there's going to be some games where the players who replace them are like still learning to replace them. But yeah, it's pretty impressive start.
I've just seen as well, they're your first game back after the international break.
Oh shit. Damn. Oh, man, now you just depressed me again. I was good. I was
Bring you
good.
up and downs.
Yeah. It's like the game yesterday. It's like my relationship with United since Ferguson left. It used to be all high. Yeah. Uh, and just quick shout out to Liverpool for fucking they might be back. It's like I said, the same way 34 game Spurs got 34 games to mess this up. Liverpool got 34 games to mess this up, or the way they're looking to improve too. So they're doing pretty good. They dropped points in their first game versus Chelsea. And now after seeing Chelsea lose to Forest, they're like, how did we drop points to Chelsea? But yeah, what do you think of this Chelsea situation, fam?
I mean, just a mismatch of a team. It's like I think there's good individuals in there, but they can't seem to get them going as a team. And I think, Poch is the sort of manager who could over time, but I mean, Chelsea's a good manager graveyard. Tuchel was a good manager, and they sent him crazy. Graham Potter, he was unproven at that level, but everything at Brighton suggested he was a smart manager who could get the most out of players, especially young players. They turned him into a joke. It's it's one of them where it's like, they've ruined enough managers now that I think it might be the club. Let's not be too harsh on the people in charge in the dugout there, because there's just something in the air at Cobham. I think it's yeah. I mean, it's just there's so much player turnover. I think it's hard to get a team to really gel with that many players this quickly. So they're going to be inconsistent, and I mean, just. Especially at home, though, you think that these are the games where you should be, if not making it comfortable, at least getting the win. Forest can be an awkward opponent. They definitely proved that in this game. But if you're Chelsea, you should be getting the 3 points there without that much bother. But I mean, it just shows where they're at now, that they're struggling in those sort of games. Because I mean, just have a look at the stats. They dominated possession, but they just didn't get many shots on target. They had 76% possession. So Forest were like, yeah, you have the ball. But they only had 2 shots on target to Forest 3. So Forest obviously did well at keeping them away from away from the danger areas. And your boy Alanga has gone in there and got the
Oh
goal.
man.
Doing the
I don't know if
damage.
you remember. Go ahead.
Did I say Awani with his assist as well?
Yeah, great assist. I don't even remember me saying that last year, that after watching who did we bring in as a forward on loan? I forgot his name again, because my memory's just deteriorating at a rapid rate.
Weghorst?
Vegas, right? I would say I think Elanga would do better than this. Like, why isn't he playing Elanga? And this lends into my thing where, you know, coaches and even Ten Hag surprisingly wants Premier League experienced players sometimes preferred over youth. Like Elanga as a 9 after they got rid of Ronaldo would have definitely done better than Wakehorse did all season. And already 4 games in, Elanga has an assist against Arsenal, and then as a sub, and then he came in yesterday as a sub and scores against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge and wins the game. And it was a cool, calm finish. And you could tell by his Instagram post after the win about he was clapping. It was shots fired at Ten Hag and not giving him the chance. After Ralph Ragnick was like, this guy has the right mentality. Like, because he has that academy energy where I got to prove myself. And it's more about proving yourself and the hunger that fuels that than like fear of failure. So that's why I like Elanga. And it's like he's just here to prove himself, man. And he's got limited time on the pitch. And every time so far he's gone out there, that dude proved himself. He's like a rapper trying to get out the hood, man. He's like, I got these bars and I'm a spit. Let me shine. And so, yeah, good for him. And I hope he does good. Again, I don't want him to do good against us, but we're selling players for cheap, and then it hurts when they go someplace and do good, and you need somebody in that position, you know. So I feel like we could have played him last year. I don't know if he was injured when we got Weghorst. I don't know what the deal was, but he was not favored by Ten Hag. But now we'll see what he could do. He had way more pace, Premiership pace than Weghorst, and his pace has killed like top teams so far. As far as Chelsea, I agree with everything you said, but I would still exercise some patience. This is going to take. It's like Chelsea are still buying players now, even though the transfer window closed. That's just how they roll. Like they just keep spending. So, and they got rid of the glut of players and created a new glut of players. I don't know who that's on, but give Poch some time. He might need some Arteta amount of time to turn this around. Don't fire the manager. Like you said, this is all about Chelsea. Just like how the only thing Chelsea likes, the new ownership changes just as much as they like bringing in players, is managers. And they need to chill and let the manager have a chance to fix this new roster of names that he doesn't recognize either. And I feel like they dominated most of the game. Raheem Sterling, I want Jackson to work for them. I just like him. He was good in the preseason, and he definitely missed at a few opportunities, but definitely one sitter where he just put it over. I don't even know how he put that over the bar. All you had to do was tap it in. But
it was kind of leaning back, wasn't he? Just got the toe underneath it and sent it high.
Yeah, that one you could put it in a classic school of misses, like how to miss a tap in. The way he executed that was perfect instructional on that. You want to step up to the podium and just exfoliate your soul on your team's game, and maybe they'll help you the way talk about United helped me.
Oh, I mean, yeah, we are obviously unbeaten start to the season. We've rode our luck in some of those games, though. We had like a 4-4 with Norwich, where we looked at I say a bit ropey, very ropey at the back. Last week we beat QPR 2-1, but QPR had some chances. Week before that we beat Plymouth 2-1. Plymouth had some chances. We've not kept a clean sheet yet. We've conceded a bunch of goals. But we were going to play Sunderland, and we signed their star striker from them. He hadn't been playing for them because he'd been injured, but we signed their star striker from them on deadline day, Ross Stewart. And I was going up there with some optimism. We kept Shea Adams, we kept Alcaraz, we kept Walker Peters, we kept Kamaldeen Sulemana. I was thinking the squad's looking good, and then the lineup got announced for this game, and it was a bit odd because Adams was on the bench still, like he wasn't even in the squad last week. He was on the bench this week, and I was like, we kind of, if he's staying, then put him in the team. We started with Sekou Mara. Adam Armstrong had been doing great for us in the midfield position, but they put him back as centre forward, and Armstrong on the bench, and Sekou Mara was on the wing. And I was like, okay, this is, it's not the lineup I would have picked, but I trust the manager. He's got a lot right so far. We'll see how we get on. 1 minute into the game, we go and press them. They kick off, we press them, we win a chance, we win a corner. We send all of our team up for that corner. They defend it. And the counter-attack wasn't even quick. They slowed the ball down. We got enough time to get all our players back, and then they still crossed and scored. 1 minute in, we're 1-0 down. 7 minutes in, one of their players takes a pot shot from outside the area. We don't close down, and it flies into the corner. 2-0, 7 minutes. Um, and I was driving at the time, listening to this on the live commentary on the radio, and I was just like sitting in the car, like, what the fuck is this? And then they get a third before half time, 3-0 down at half time. I was like, well,
Damn.
this is done. Manager
Did you
makes a
still
couple of
have hope?
changes. Not really. At 2-0, I did. At 2-0, I
Mm,
was like, oh, we score the next goal, then game on. As soon as the third went in, I was like, that's too much, I think. And then it ended up finishing 5-0. They like at 4-0, they sent a 16-year-old off the bench and he scored
damn.
for the
Jesus
five.
Christ.
So yeah, just a real reality check, an embarrassment, if anything, as well. I mean, one of the things I did like though, our fans stayed in the stadium, most of them, and kept on singing till the end as well,
Oh,
like proper
good, good.
support, which is nice. The players have been very apologetic. The manager's been very no one's made any excuses.
Hmm.
Everyone's come out and been like, nah, not good enough, and we'll work to put it right. So I feel for the players a little bit because, like we talked about it last week, and then we've discussed it after these games. That 2 week period now, like it's good that you've got 2 weeks to work on stuff, but it's also 2 weeks where you can't affect that result on the pitch now. Like you got to just sit on that for two
Hmm.
weeks. Um, we've got a surprisingly large amount of players away on international duty as well. We've got like 16 players that are gone.
Hmm.
Because we've got two players in the England under 21s, two players in the under 19s, and three players in the under 18s as well. So we've got a lot of young England international talent. We got three players in the Republic of Ireland full team. We got
Hmm.
Shay Charles is in the Northern Irish full team as well. So yeah, we got a few players that aren't going to be around. It's kind of a shame. It would have been nice if the manager could have got that 2 weeks to, I don't know, just work on defending for 2 weeks straight because we haven't even looked like keeping a clean sheet yet this season. So that's something that's going to have to change if we're going to go up. But I mean, we signed two centre backs um, this week, and one of them, Mason Holgate from Everton, he started this game and had a stinker. He was passing directly to their players.
He's suspect, man.
Um, yeah, it's like someone came in and said, "Oh, we play in red and white stripes," and then he just kept on passing to Sunderland players. Like he just kept giving them the ball. But I'll give him a chance. It was a horrible debut, but he could turn out to be good. I don't know. But the other player we signed, Taylor Harwood-Bellis, came in on loan from Man City.
Hmm.
He's the England under 21s captain when they won the Euros in the summer.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and also he was a starter on loan for Burnley last year when they won the league in the Championship with Vincent Kompany. So he's got good pedigree. He's a winner. He was on the bench, and Russell Martin, our manager, didn't put him on. I think he was like, "I'm not going to let you be part of this. I'm just sit and watch and see what you'll do better when you come in." So I think he'll probably start after the international break because he's a real promising player who knows how to win at this level, even though he's only 21 years old. So I'm looking forward to him coming in and hopefully making us a bit more solid defensively. Because yeah, it was a bad day. But all the teams in the championship that had 100% records have gone now because Leicester were the only team left who won every game, and they lost 1-0 to Hull. So
Hmm.
yeah, all the records are gone now. It's such an open division. We just got to hope that we don't let this win get us down and we can pick ourselves up and get back going again. But our first game after the international break is Leicester. Um,
Damn.
and then a few days after that, we have Ipswich, who are also really strong this season. And in September still as well, on the 30th of September, we're at home to Leeds, who started slowly, but they've made some signings and they're coming back strong as well. So um, after the end of September, we'll have a good idea, I think, of where we're at this season. Um, so there's some big games coming up.
Well, at least you didn't lose alone. You know what I mean? Like the teams that were like you were hanging with at the top of the table, they dropped
Mm,
points too. So it's like it kind of releases like some of like you know how it is like in the Premier League if you're in a certain group, whether it's the bottom, the middle, the other middle, or the top. Like if somebody in the group loses ground to it kind of makes your loss not as
mm.
bad. So So that's
Yeah,
cool.
for sure.
Uh, I'm not even sure I want to get into this, but let me just ask you about what's your opinion on the Sancho tweet after the
Mm.
game in response to Eric Ten Hag's uh, comments in the press post game press conference.
I mean, Ten Hag was asked about him,
Hmm.
and sometimes in those instances, managers will make something up. They might
Hmm.
just say, "Oh, he had a little injury or something, wasn't quite fit enough, or something." Sometimes they'll protect the player and they'll make up a little story just to end the questioning right there.
Hmm.
And it seems he took the opposite route, which is brutal honesty, which normally a manager's doing to fire a player up and motivate them. Because Ten Hag's done this before. Like he said before, like, Rashford was late to training, so I dropped him, and then
Right.
Rashford came back stronger. Um,
Hmm.
and that works for some players. It doesn't work with others. It worked with Rashford. Um, for Sancho, all it's done is made him like, I can understand Sancho not liking that.
Right.
Um, like I completely get that, and I get the feeling that he's come, but it's almost like you're a professional, you're a very highly paid professional. Take a breath. Hopefully, your agent gets to call you before you do anything, and then you don't send that tweet. Because I think it's just it's like you need to don't like in the situation he's in. Don't do your talking online. Do it on the field.
Yeah.
Go into training on the Monday and train your ass off if you're training as hard as you say you're training.
Hmm.
Um, because there were issues at Dortmund where he would turn up late or not train properly. Obviously, he had some other issues at United previously as well, where he didn't quite get the best of him. And Ten Hag let him have that little sort of extended time off to get his head right last year. So it's like you're starting as a player to get a reputation at this point, and firing back emotionally like he did. Like on one hand, you can look at it. It's like, and on one hand, I get it, where it's like, oh, you want to stand up for yourself. You like, I'm not going to let this person talk about me negatively so openly like that. But at the same time, it's like you're not doing yourself any favors with that tweet. Just bite your
Right.
tongue and do the talking on the pitch, because ultimately that's the only place where it counts.
Yeah. Treat it like a
Um,
court case. Tell them that your lawyers recommend that you don't talk about the evidence right now, and you
yeah,
will do your talking on the pitch.
yeah,
You have your day on the pitch. Yeah, I like what you said about like you nailed it when you was like if I understand him not liking that tweet,
mm,
and because you don't want to look like the player to the fans that didn't give all in training. Like that's just bad
mm,
to have been said about you. But now it's time to put up or shut up. And the only positive that I can take out of this is that uh, at Dortmund, when he was disciplined and like publicly, like his coach, like was brutal honest to the media about why he was in trouble or wasn't starting. Like after that, he went on a run of 17 goals and like 17 assists to like shut all the doubters up. And so he responded well to public criticism. As far as Ten Hag, he's probably frustrated because he expects more from Sancho and he's not getting it. He's also treated him like a son and like sent him last season in the middle of his first season to
yeah,
Holland to train and to like mentally recuperate. So he's not like just like attacking some guy without like
mm,
being thoughtful about him at first. So this is like, all right, I'm frustrated. Like this, I'm not getting out of this person what I want. So this is the deal. So now they're both nice people. So I figure they have to have a conversation and then
mm.
hopefully some determination will kick in from Sancho, and he knows what he's getting paid. He knows what he's getting paid to do, and he knows what he needs to do to justify. And I hope he could do it. Not even just because he's a United player. I just like the guy, so I want him to win. You know what I mean? And if he's going to win for us, that's best. I also know that he was bought as a right winger, and because of everything since he got to United has worked against that. Like we all of a sudden Mason Greenwood came out of nowhere and he became the right winger when all we needed was a right winger, and that's why we're trying to get Sancho for 2 years and we get him. So then we put him on the left, and then we get Ronaldo, and then Rashford went on the left, and then it was Ronaldo in the middle and Mason on the right, and then Ali got fired, and then Ragnick comes in, and then we get Ten Hag, and Ten Hag goes and buys his own right winger from his ex team, even though in the preseason Sancho played as a right winger last preseason, the first one of Ten Hag's tenure, and did good on the right. Was him, Martial, and Rashford, and then they went out and bought a right winger, and then he's gonna favor the guy he paid 90 mil for over the guy he didn't pay 70 mil for, and so it's always not been the best situation. But the only way to answer all this and to rise above it all is to do your talking on the pitch. So let's go, Sancho.
I think one of the most frustrating things is knowing what he's capable of when he's in the right place, because he's a devastating player when he's being used right and when he's feeling right. He's, and he showed glimpses of that in pre-season in the US as well. Was it Arsenal he scored against, that great goal where he just ran through and smashed it in? And like there's enough evidence at Dortmund and stuff that he's got it in him. So it's just finding a way, him finding a way, Ten Hag finding a way, the people around him finding a way to get that out of him, because it's in there. But I feel like he's almost running out of time a little bit to show that, where if he doesn't, eventually he's going to be shown the door, whether that's in January or the summer. I don't know what sort of time frame they're putting on it, but hopefully, like you say, I'm in agreement with you. I like him, and I hope he can get his head right and sort out whatever issue he has with the manager, and show off his best form.
Yeah, and then it's got to be frustrating if you're a player and whatever position they use you for in the preseason, you never play in that position during a game. And that's happened to him in the last two preseasons. Like the first preseason, right winger, barely played it when the season started. And then this season, preseason, he was false nine, and then that's not where they put him. I mean, he would have to play there kind of, because there's a lot of switching in the positions, like in the United team anyway. So it's good to like have some preseason experience there. But where they use him mostly during the real games, he's not playing. That's not where he practiced during the preseason. So he doesn't get a chance to be comfortable. So I understand, but you still, bottom line is you have to figure this out. That's the bottom line. That's clear. Yeah. So with all understanding, Sancho, get it together, bro. Anything else you think we should talk about?
No, we covered most of it.
Yeah. Man City, yeah, you won. That's it. That's all we need. That's all we're giving you. 5-1. You beat up on Fulham. It's a decent Fulham team too. So
Fulham got done dirty by decision though in that one. At 1-1, the second goal for City was Haaland was clearly offside.
Oh, word.
And interfering in front of the keeper on a ball that went through. So, I mean, I think Fulham probably would have lost the game anyway. But at that point, it was 1-1. So, I can understand them being upset.
Yeah, like that counts until they put 3 more past you, and then everybody forgets that VAR error or that mistake. So, yeah, if the game ended 2-1, then you can always cling to that. But at 5-1, you're like, when one man outscores you, yeah, it's a wrap. And I'm trying to look and see. Wolves almost won a game, but Crystal Palace was like, not today. And my man Eze, who's playing for England during the international break, man, his stock is rising. Scored again, and was one of the outstanding players of the game. And now I was good, but I'm now looking at this Brighton game coming up against Man United, 7 p.m. Saturday the 16th, 7 a.m. Saturday the 16th. And man, this is gonna be a rough ass ride. But hopefully, like our injuries get healed during the international break. I don't know how long Varane's injured for, but I hope he gets to come back. And yeah, man. And Martinez, like you mentioned before, I don't know how long he's injured for. Hope he gets to come back, or else this is gonna be to lose before the international break and to come back and lose again. It's that feels like season over. Like that's when I lose all my rationality. You know what I mean? Like I can't be objective anymore. I'm it's gonna be pure emotion. Like we're done. I'm out. But yeah. Come on, Rasmus. All right, cool, fam. Well, good ass convo. And everybody, hope your teams are doing good. Responded to everybody that commented on YouTube to keep watching on and listening on iTunes, Omni Studio, and what is the name of this popular ass site? Spotify. And you want to do the fantasy league?
Yeah, let me just gonna go in and load that up. While I'm loading that up as well, I just want to mention if we have any listeners in the Netherlands, I'm coming at the start of October. I got shows in Rotterdam, in Amsterdam. I'm doing a solo show. If you want to come see me do an hour, I'm doing it.
Dope.
I'm gonna be going to some football out there as well. Going to see Chelsea's old feeder club, Vitesse Arnhem. Hopefully going to see Ajax as well. So yeah, I'm trying to finalize those plans.
I still need to get that shirt.
Oh, the Jamaican one.
Yeah.
Prices probably come down as well because that was last season now, so
yeah,
it's probably cheaper.
Yeah.
Right, fantasy league. Callum Ross, who's a buddy of mine.
Oh yeah,
he's number one. Yeah, he's a comic who I chat to about football a lot here.
What up, Callum?
We briefly had a little gambling podcast where we would give our picks for the games. It was like a little 15-minute thing we did during lockdown when the games were being played with no fans. So yeah, he's taken top spot because he had Haaland in there, but he went with Callum Archer who just signed for Sheffield United that week.
Yeah, Cameron Archer.
Yeah, he had a good game. So yeah, Callum's top. Oliver Young is second, and Daniel Shatabi is third. So it's all moving around because where's so our friend Joachim Henriksen, who was number one last week, he is. Oh no, I'm looking at the wrong league.
Oh, well, that's hilarious.
Callum isn't in that league. That's another league we're in. But Callum does have the same amount of points as the team that is top of our league. So technically, if he was in our league, he'd be top. I was just reading out other names. I was like, I didn't realize he ended this. So no, Eric Hergenreder, who I think is a United fan because his team's called 313 Stratford End. Okay. So it sounds like he's a United fan. He's got a couple of United players in there. He's got Rashford and Fernandes and Onana. So he's definitely a United fan with all those players in there. But he's top on 270 points, which is a decent haul. He had Haaland and Ferguson. So
damn, two hat-trickers.
Yeah, and he had a couple other players who put up goals, and Bumo and Rashford obviously in there as well. So he's first. Aaron Firkin is second. Craig Oliver is third. And Joachim Henriksen, who was top last week, he's down in seventh. This is early days, though. People move around a bunch. Martin jumped up a little bit. Neil jumped up way, way higher because he had Haaland and Ferguson as well. He had Rice in there too. So obviously that,
Rice
that winning goal. So yeah, Neil jumped way up. And I still did okay. I got 80 points, which for the week is a decent amount. I still not down where I was at the very start, but it's early doors. It's early doors. But yeah, Eric Hergenreder. Hergenreder, I think that's how you pronounce it. Get at me in the comments, Eric, if I'm fucking your name up. Let me know. Let me know how to say it properly. But that's
at least you're saying his name this time, and he's in the league.
Yeah,
he's
I'm not just giving it to one of my buddies in another mini league.
But
no, Hergenreder is how I would say that. But he's he's killing it. He had a great week. Looks like he's been pretty consistent with his team. So he had a good first week. It's big point haul. So we'll thing about fantasy league. It's you just sit on it over the international break as well. So it's like my team lost and I want to do better in fantasy football as well. And I just got to sit there and wait for all of it for 2 weeks.
Neil, his team lost, but then he had such a great fantasy week, so he could just anytime he feels depressed, just look at his phone and look at the points that he racked up and feel better. Yeah.
I think even in Chelsea doing well, he'd probably still feel bad. So
yeah. I think it was his birthday too. So happy birthday, Neil.
Happy birthday to Neil. So Todd Bowley can find you a win when football is going again.
It's too late to buy a striker, but that's what you should have did. But they got all those injuries too, like the people who could be strikers, and that everything is conspiring in the universe, like with what happened to Lukaku, Aubameyang not working out, and then Nkunku is gonna kind of be the striker, like doing good in preseason and then getting injured, and Chupomenko, whose name I'm saying wrong, but just I don't think the football gods want Chelsea to have a good time. I think they want to continue to make Chelsea the laughing stock of the Premier League, just because what's happening to them is kind of just bananas. But yeah. All right. Thank you all for listening. Any last words, Lee? Great job.
No, just follow the socials. If you want to see where I'm doing shows and whatnot, it's all on there. Lee Hudson Comedy on Instagram.
Boom, and follow me at Ian Edwards Comic on Twitter and on Instagram. All right? 1. This thing.